What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for being here. Big Dog Brett, welcome. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. You ain't got nothing better to do. You just hanging around with me. Hey, you ain't got nothing better to do. Hit that like and subscribe button. So, shout out to everybody who's jumped in the chat so far. Resident member Michael Porter, thank you for joining the channel, sir. Appreciate your support. Thank you so much. ECC, Kirby will be fired if a less than anticipated season occurs. I'll bet JT Daniels on it. Well, he's probably going pro anyway. So, Brian Wilkerson says Carson Beck, possibility. Pizza Woman, how you doing? Alex Dangy, SEC Dog, what's up? Nate the Great, how you doing, sir? And Dan Statton, what's going on, buddy? That's Dan Statton. I like that name, sir. That's a good name. Shadow, how you doing? JT Daniels, Christ shall overcome this injury, hopefully. So, well, guys, lots of stuff to talk about. First thing we need to talk about is getting the banner down. I got this banner up here. What am I doing? I don't know. Yeah, let me get rid of that. Okay, great. Whew. Tons going on. You know what it is. Got a lot to talk about. My goodness. I didn't make a follow-up video. I spent time with my family on Labor Day and not doing labor. Spent time on Tuesday with my son. It was his 18th birthday, so we spent a lot of time doing that. Those things were more important. So, yeah, I didn't make a video, but we're going to make it for it tonight, right now. So, Peace Woman says, the champ is here. Where? Oh. Still got it. What's going on? Okay, so we're going to give everybody a few more minutes to jump on. I typically like to wait till about that 5-minute mark to get everybody in the channel here. We're going to talk about Georgia's injury list. We're going to talk about Clemson. We're going to talk about top 25. We're going to talk about Oklahoma. We're going to talk about Ohio State, Texas A&M. We're even going to talk about the Cincinnati Bearcats and the Notre Dames. We're going to talk about those guys. A personal pick of mine, Iowa. We're going to talk about those guys. Not really going to talk so much about Iowa State, but we are going to talk about Iowa. We're going to talk about Texas. Also going to talk a little bit about Florida. We'll get them out of the way. We're also going to talk about the fact that George Pickens, according to Kirby Smart, says the return is on the way. Well, we knew that as soon as we found out he was rehabbing. We just want to know when. There's been some injury reports. There's also talk of COVID going around the locker room. We're going to go through all of that good stuff. So, yeah. What's up, LSU fan? We're also going to talk about some coaches. We're going to get into a whole bunch of stuff. So, SEC Dog says, BDB, we need to help some dog fans. Week 1 doesn't mean we won anything. On to week 2. Well, we're also going to talk about that signature win for Kirby Smart. We're also going to talk about what that means for recruiting and a bunch of other things. So there's tons and tons of stuff to cover. So again, we're going to give everybody a few more minutes to jump on. Then we're going to kind of jump into it because like last week, I jumped into it. People started talking, asking questions about stuff I'd already covered. Not that I don't mind covering it again, but I only got so much time. I can't get it. I can't get the other stuff I want to get to if we're talking about stuff I already talked about. So there's that. All right. What's going on, Elite GB? Yes, sir. Okay, so Lad McConkey for Heisman. Sit down, Brian. What are you talking about? I hope he is on the way. When I read that, I initially read help is on the way, which always makes me think of Mrs. Doubtfire. Help is on the way, dear. Every time I see that. So yeah. Pizza Woman says Tater Man was a great song. That was a Tater Man. That Tater Man song was a great song. What's up? LSU fan says, sup, big dog. Nice win for the Dogs. Bad loss for the Tigers. I don't know that it was that bad of a loss. We're going to cover that too, so don't worry. Texas Rock says, doesn't matter if JT is out this week. They're going to have to measure UAB's total yards in feet. Ooh, I like that. Texas top 10. We're coming. Great, man. How you doing? Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. Good to see you here. Signature win is over. 1 week at a time. Dabba Do is hurt. I get it. That's their problem, not ours. Okay, so first things first, let's go ahead and talk about the Georgia Clemson game. Let's just jump right into that. My opinion, straight out of the gate, wow, got a big win over a top 3 school during the regular season, beat a national championship caliber coach, one of the 5 coaches that has won a national championship in recent memory, that's still, playing football. I believe it's Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, Mike Leach. Is it Mike Leach? There's not many of them. There's only like 5. I know there's 5. But that having been said, that was – to get a win was impressive. What we did was impressive on defense. What we did on offense was terrifying. We basically, in my opinion, that game was a lot closer than we realized. And if you want to know who I think the player of the game was, obviously other than the pick 6, was Jake Camarda. And that's because it was his talent that consistently put that ball in a place. And granted, the return guys got the ball. I get that. But Jake Camarda consistently putting that football where he needed to put it, to put Clemson as far back on the field as he could, was outstanding. Because if he doesn't get a great kick, if he gets a short kick on just about any of those drives, when they finished that drive, there was a couple of those, they would have been in field goal range. That could have been very bad for Georgia. Also, we could have kicked a field goal at the end. That would have made it a bigger score. I get it. Georgia realistically could have scored 9 points on offense. And Clemson was only in the process of scoring 3 due to Jake Camarda's punting ability. So, do I consider that a big win? Yes. Do I consider it a dominant win? Only on defense. Our offense, I don't know what happened. I think there was a big part of the Georgia offense that never wanted to get off of the bench, because that's what they were the coaching staff and play calling was content to do. It was extremely conservative. And I feel like after that pick 6, it just got even more conservative, because once the coaching staff realized that Clemson couldn't move the ball, they basically said, we're going to grind clock until you can prove you can move the ball. And that seemed to be the game plan the whole game. Georgia set up shop in that backfield. The 4 front guys for Clemson that were supposed to be returning, that were starters, they really honestly looked like freshmen. Can't blame all those sacks. Cannot blame all of those sacks on DJ. You can blame about 2.5, maybe 3. So for me, when I look at that, I'm like, guys, that was a great defensive showing, but I'm concerned about our offense. If we play like that against Alabama on offense, it's going to be a problem, because I just don't believe that our defensive line is going to be able to do that to Alabama. I just don't. Let's see. Gray Man says that win won't look as pretty when Georgia has a tough time versus competent QBs on mediocre teams. So just so you know, DJ is not an incompetent quarterback. He's really not. He's actually very capable. Any football player that can put up basically 800 yards in 2 football games on a college level against any Power 5 school, he's got some talent, because if he didn't, well, you'd see that all the time, and let's be honest, you just don't. Even in the ACC, you just don't see that stuff. The guy's got some talent. I think the stage might have been a little big for him. I think that by the time he's here next year, he'll be a force to be reckoned with for sure. Guy's got a cannon for an arm. What's up, D4 Sports? How you doing, sir? We're going to did you get the phone call from Trenches, and what is your reply? So, is Georgia playing an intern now at quarterback too? No. Just 2 5-stars and a 4-star sitting on the bench to play backup. Just in case you're wondering, I'm worried about Vanderbilt. Sit down, Brian. Boy, you're terrible at trolling. This is what I will say. You have to keep in mind that as much as we want to point out that Georgia beat Clemson and we held them to 3 points, they also held Georgia to 3 points offensively. And they didn't get but 1 sack. That actually says a lot too. So you got to give those guys some credit. Shane M, 1980, thank you for your super chat, sir. He says, good luck with your dogs, Brett. I don't think it's going to be a good year for my Tigers. Yeah, it ain't looking so good for LSU, man. We'll get into that later. Georgia is not on Alabama's schedule either as of now, 1 week at a time. They are on the schedule, and it's going to be played in Atlanta. That's pretty much it. Who cares about Brady? I'm not sure. Somebody said, "What's up, Brett?" Who was that? Steve Pearson. How you doing, sir? Alex Dingy says that offensive performance by the Dogs was very concerning to me. If you do that against Bama, you're going to pay big time. I completely agree. What's up, G Bama boy? It says Roll Tide. What's up, B? What's up, Keith? All right. He says he's all in. All right, good. That's good news. Good news. Good news. Ready for the receivers to get back? Ain't we all? Can't shake SEC dog. Elite GB. LOLG. Had to get it there. What's up, bruh? We meet again. Hi, Keith. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and throw the invite out here for a couple of people. If you guys want to jump in the chat, D4, Keith, anybody else who wants to jump in, we'll get you guys in here. We'll talk about it a little bit. So I want to see who we get in the chat first as to who we add in for some of the questions here, because I'm really not done with the Georgia game yet. I want to get some other people's opinions. Alex Dingy says my Tar Heels had a rough game against Virginia Tech, but I trust Mac Brown. Mac Brown's a great coach. He had Alabama. He had Texas firing all cylinders when he coached there, and then he walked out in the middle of the season. But nonetheless. Oh, did you guys see that the head coach for UConn just basically he put in his thing? He's going to retire at the end of the season, and he's like, you know what? I'm just done now. I'm just done now. I'm like, wow. Okay, Monday's the last day then, I guess. Let's see. Y'all dogs need to slow down. Long season. Yeah. It was the first game against the top 3 team. So while we're talking about that, you got to admit that for people that say Kirby Smart can't win a big game, this is kind of a slap in the face to those people. There's a lot of Dogs fans out there that's like, oh, he's a Mark Richt 2.0. Not even close. Not even close. I'm going to add in what's going on, Keith?
What's up?
What's going on, sir? Welcome back. Welcome back. So kind of gave you my take there. What's your take?
What's that? Sorry, I'm just getting in on the Georgia game.
Yeah, on the Georgia game.
Yeah. I mean, it was clear to me that the game plan going in was to try to get the ball to playmakers. Very high percentage throws to try to get something going from that perspective. I think, I want to say that maybe Clemson was expecting us to throw the deep ball, because that's what everybody's been talking about. JT Daniels is going to press the ball downfield, unlike any other Georgia quarterback's ever done. And, I don't know if Monken just decided, hey, we're just going to, we're just not going to do that. We're going to, kind of come at you from a different angle. And not only that, I mean, you're kind of limited in what you have with your receivers. You prepare, and then boom, all of a sudden some of your top targets aren't there. So you kind of got to do what you got to do. And it seemed like the game plan was to expect their defensive front to put pressure on JT and get rid of the ball fast. Get them to, get it out to James Cook, get it out to, and the freshman tight end, nobody expected him to be in the game plan. And, and so, I mean, certainly I would have liked to have seen more points scored offensively. And I think we were in a position to do so. I mean, we missed a field goal early in the game, and, that game could have easily been 17-3, 20-3, something like that, which I don't know if we'd have been having the same conversation if we would have, instead of missing a field goal, that turns into a touchdown, So.
I do have a bit of a question. If part of the conservative play calling was due in part to losing Tate Ratledge pretty much right out of the gate.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna add in D4.
What's up, buddy?
What's up, D4? How you going, sir?
Yeah, just got done with supper. We're gonna jump on and watch you for a bit.
Oh, appreciate it, man. So we were just talking a little bit about the Georgia Clemson game, obviously covering that. How long is JT Daniels out with a mild oblique strain? From what I could find, oblique strains are one of those things where it's like you strain a muscle. It could be anywhere from a few days to a few months. It just depends for a severe strain. And it can even require surgery if tough enough. But most likely he'll just be out this week. I would imagine they'll have him rehab, pumped full of B12 shots, and back in the game soon. They really want that guy in. But that leads us to the question of who is going to be the backup.
I think Kirby's already named that, right?
Did he?
Yeah, he named. I think he named today. He named Carson Beck. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank God he didn't say Stetson Bennett.
Yeah. So am I missing something? Is JT hurt? Did I miss that?
JT, come out a few hours ago. He strained an oblique muscle. I'm kind of the round nature, and I'm the current slob champion. I don't know what an oblique is. I'm lucky to be able to spell it. I sure as heck can't find it.
I don't think I've seen one of those since high school.
When they told me oblique, I thought it was like that slime stuff that they make in the kitchen, but it's not. That's called oblique.
I remember back to the spring game, and Carson Beck showed out, so I'm good.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with being Carson Beck. What I will say is that I expect the offense to be pretty vanilla. When you got a stable of running backs like that, an offensive line that was able to push around Clemson, I think you're going to see a whole lot of a similar playing program that you saw against Clemson, but with better results. Yeah, Georgia, that's something we need to talk about. So this is probably the most banged up I have seen Georgia at the start of a season in probably 10 years. I knew that there was some talk of Scott Cochran being the strength and conditioning coach coming over from Alabama. That was kind of a common theme over there. But I'm just not sure how much of that is because of his program or if there's another reason or if it's just bad luck. I'm not sure. So,
yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this, for the past couple of years, it seems like you've seen this across all sports. I mean, you look at my Braves, you got Acuna going down for the year with injuries that just, you don't typically see across the board. You got Tatis Jr. missing games. I mean, you see it across all the sports, and it's kind of concerning. I've had this conversation with multiple different people that, I don't know if we're just paying attention to it more now. In the post-COVID world, we're kind of a little more, I guess, attuned to this kind of stuff or paying attention more. But it definitely seems like injuries are happening at a higher rate, particularly conditioning type injuries like we're seeing, So I don't know if it's just because of a lack of workouts that these guys are having. They're limiting their exposure to each other. I don't know, but it definitely seems to be a thing across every sport.
Oh, I absolutely agree. Now, I don't know if a lot of you guys knew this or not. I'm going to bring in Nate here. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but Kirby Smart said that Dominic Blaylock has been playing with the ones in practice, and so is Karis Jackson. And they asked him where Dominic Blaylock was, and he's like, Dominic's fine, but he's not in game condition. He's not conditioned to play in a big game. And I'm like, how in the world are you a week going into week 2 at Georgia, and you're wanting to be WR1, and you're not in condition? Because, I mean, depending on your injury, if you can out there and run around with the ones, you should be able to get on a bike. And if you can get on a bike, you should be able to get your cardio enough in shape to where you're in condition. So somebody help me with that.
Yeah, I think it depends on the injury. I know like Taki Smith and Darnell Washington with their foot injuries, they're going to need time to get back into game play, because practice is one thing. That game speed and that game intensity, you got your adrenaline going up and down, stuff like that. It's going to take them a minute to get back in the groove of things. But if he was running with the ones, that's no excuse.
Yeah, he was. They said he was. Well, from my understanding, I could be wrong, but he was running with the ones. Now, I do want to jump over to Tate Rowledge for just a second. He said, "Thank you to everyone for the thoughts and prayers. I'll be back. # Go Dogs." And then he quotes Romans 5:3-5. I'm not going to read that for you, but you can look it up. Ratledge suffered what is called a Les Frank fracture, which is a particularly troublesome break. So he broke his foot. Because of where it is located in the foot and how hard it is to rehab, it will require surgery, which Rattler is expected to undergo later this week, and he will be out for the year. So Tate Ratledge is gone. That's Georgia's, I believe, right tackle. So that's going to be tough. Georgia was already having some issues on the offensive line. We had to move some people around to fill in all the positions properly. We were looking at Cedric Van Pran as a center so that we could put Truss in another position. I mean, it's basically been musical chairs at that position trying to get it solidified.
But luckily, Georgia is so rich at that offensive line area that you can basically play musical chairs and still feel comfortable protecting your backs and running back or quarterback.
I mean, the average size on Georgia right now, I think it's something like 6'6", 315.
Yeah, Georgia is definitely we're definitely deep at offensive line. I mean, he's definitely got some chips to play with there. So, I'm not too awfully concerned. I mean, he's definitely a huge asset to lose. I mean, the kid is, he's a beast, but we'll make do.
What's going on, Nate? What's on your mind, brother?
Not much, man. I'm just ready to kick some butt. I'm ready for Michigan to kick butt on Saturday.
Who do you guys play on? Who do you guys play on Saturday?
Washington.
Yeah, you guys ought to win that game. Washington is a shadow of it.
They should win that game, or
yeah.
You know what's going to happen.
We're definitely gonna see a good game. I think that Michigan will pull away there late in the fourth quarter. So
yeah. Hey, I don't know if you saw. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm fine. You're good.
I don't know if you saw, but J.J. McCarthy, the true freshman for Michigan, got a snap and threw like a 69-yard pass to Dalen Baldwin from Jackson State.
Man, 69-yard pass. Was he standing in the Jackson State Stadium? Because good Lord, that's a long pass, bro.
It was a lot of catch and run.
Woo, that's a bomb.
Quarterback, boys.
I will say the prettiest pass that I seen all Saturday was thrown by DJ Uyunglele. Our best receivers on defense. Like, coach, I want to play wide receiver. You're on defense. Not anymore.
Yeah. To be honest, my Michigan Wolverines actually changed the scheme of the defense to like a 2-5-4, whatever it is, or 2-4-5. I don't know.
You gotta be careful with that because they'll start running on you. But you guys should be good.
Yeah, I know. It's basically an NFL defense that Ravens did or are using, I think.
Yeah.
So Mike McDonald, hopefully he does good there.
He should be good. Alex Dean says he's looking forward to Bucks versus Ducks. That's gonna be a good game. I'm gonna take Ohio State. That's what I'm gonna take.
That's good.
Well, we don't know if Oregon's going to be without Kayvon Thibodeau, who's a game changer on their defense. Granted, they have a solid defense across the board, but when you take a game changer out of there, where people have to game plan around that guy, he may be the best player in the nation.
Yeah, that would for those of you that are Georgia fans who don't know anything about that particular player, you could equate him to a Roquan Smith. He's that dynamic. He's flying all over the field. He's super dangerous, high football IQ. Just a playmaker that if you lose, the drop off is noticed immediately. Quite a player. We'll see what happens with him though.
I mean,
quick question here. D4. This is targeted directly at you.
Yes.
And be unbiased as humanly possible.
Right.
How do you feel about your luck against Oklahoma now?
They have a lot more holes than anyone ever thought they did leading into the season because everybody was high on them.
Well, not me, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, most people were very, very. I mean, some people were ranking them number one.
I called bogusness on that right out of the gate. But go ahead.
Their defense looks like it's regressed against Tulane. I mean, you can't come out and overlook anybody when you're supposed to be a top team in the nation.
Yeah,
right.
So this is the way I looked at it. Regression is not that's not what I would call regression. Regression is you were letting teams score 20 points, and now they're scoring 27. Right? That's regression.
Right.
What they did is they took a team that had never beat a top 5 school and tried to let them win.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a chance to win for sure.
They sure did. If Tulane would have been a little better coached or a little bit luckier, they'd won that game.
Oh yeah.
That game was winnable for Tulane. Yeah. Keep in mind, and a displaced Tulane at that, a team that didn't have a place to practice all week, wasn't even playing at home when they were supposed to be. And the Oklahoma Sooners is like, which I'll hats off to them for doing this because this was classy. They at least painted the logo on the field to try and show some solidarity, which I really appreciate. Tulane said, you know what, we come to play. And I think it was a combination of Oklahoma not taking them seriously because they knew they had been displaced and getting punched in the mouth enough times that it almost knocked them over. It's like they played a week 1 trap game.
You know, and this may not be a popular opinion, but the hype around Rattler, yeah, he's a good, solid quarterback, but I don't think he's as elite as everybody thinks he is.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler is a good quarterback, but as far as being elite, I think what has happened is that there has been so many really good quarterbacks that have come out of Oklahoma. You just naturally assumed that this guy was going to be a beast. Now, even against Tulane, you ready for this? Against Tulane, his completion percentage was basically 77%. Right? He was 30 for 39 for 304 yards, so he averaged about 8 yards a toss. But he threw 2 interceptions.
Right.
Now, I don't care how good you are. There's a little stat out there that floats around that says, what is it, like 80% of the time or 85, it might even be 90% of the time, turnovers results in points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a high number. So whenever you're given 290, we'll just say just for argument's sake, 275% chances for the other team to score, that's terrible. That's going to hurt you. You threw 2 interceptions against Tulane. What are you going to do when you play? What are you going to do when you play an elite defense like Clemson, Alabama? What are you going to do then?
The thing about it is like if you just look at him play, look at game film on him, his mechanics don't look right for a Lincoln Riley quarterback.
He looks almost choppy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Which to be fair, to be objective, if you watch JT Daniels throws, his mechanics are bad too.
Oh, he goes off his back foot, across his body. He's shot.
What he looks like? He looks like your drunk uncle at B-Dubs, showing you got a first down. First down. Shut up, Unc. You know, it's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
If you can't recognize that in your own team, don't point it out on anybody else's. Our guy needs some work. He needs to fix his oblique. We're going to get to see a shot at Carson Beck, which I didn't think we'd get to see this soon, but I'm excited about it. That's going to be fun.
Brock?
What about Brock? I think it's way too soon for Brock Vandergrift to step in there. Brock looked dynamic during the spring game, but it's also the spring game where he knows he's not going to get hit.
You got to give that boy some time. He comes straight out of the church league.
Yeah, well, you got to. Yeah, you also got to understand that Brock Vandergrift hasn't had time to learn the Georgia offense. That is a complex offense. It's not snap and go. It gives the defense a lot of looks. So yeah.
So is Georgia's offensive scheme like a spread, or is it like a run option, or what is it?
We don't know. We don't even know.
It's almost like you hear of a multiple defense. Y'all got like a multiple.
Oh,
offense.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing. So just like Georgia's so talented, I honestly believe they could line up with no offensive play call and snap the ball and figure it out like backyard football and win most of the games we have on our schedule. I also believe Clemson could do the same. What Georgia does primarily is they'll run an RPO, then they'll spread you out, then they'll run the ball right at you, then they'll spread you out again, Then they'll do 10 check downs, and then they'll throw a ball all the way down the field. There's really no set rhythm to what Georgia does. And
Right.
Georgia used to be when we had what was the big boy that went to be offensive coordinator at Tennessee? What was his name?
Chaney.
Yeah, Chaney. Everybody, the reason Georgia was not successful against Chaney was because we would run the ball. Somebody sat down and figured it out. It was like 75 to 81% of the time on first down, we ran the ball every time. And you can't do that against modern day defenses. They'll eat you alive. They'll just load the box and they'll count on you to do that. And 75% of the time they'll be right. So,
but the problem, I struggle to call it a problem, but the issue that you see that's so hard to identify with Georgia's offense is Kirby wants to run a spread offense like everybody else does. We want to run a spread offense, but it's really hard to run a spread offense as effectively as you want to when you have receivers down all over the field, and 2, you have a stable of running backs that would start. Every one of them would be RB1 on most other schools that are on your schedule. So it's like we would be stupid not to feed these guys the ball. I mean, look at what Zamir White did in that game.
Yep.
I mean, he was a bulldog. I mean, it's been a while since we've seen people, running backs, running over people like he did.
It was Richardson. I think it was the guy's name or something like that. He flattened that guy.
I mean, Zamir White was our offensive MVP.
Oh yeah, 13 attempts, 74 yards, 5.2 average.
That last drive, he just bulldogged everybody and got the first downs that were needed and iced the game. I mean, I know Kirby wants. I mean, we want to be spread, and I think in a perfect world where you don't have all those running backs sitting there, Kendall Milton being like being probably the best back we got, but it doesn't see the field as much as he should. And then at the same time, you're missing Pickens, missing Eric Gilbert that we thought we were going to have, missing Darnell Washington that we thought we were going to have. So it's like you kind of just got to feed the guys.
Now I have a theory here, and I get you guys to bail me out on this. Do you think that it's possible that JT Daniels went into that game a little bit bothered with an injury, and they played him anyway? Here's why I say that. 30 attempts, 22 completions for 135 yards. That's a 73.3% completion percentage, but an average of 4.5 yards a toss.
Yeah, I mean, it was obvious to me that the game plan was to hit the underneath guys. I mean, like I said, I really think, obviously, none of us sits in the coaching room, but you got to expect, Clemson's going to have probably the best defense that we're going to see outside of if we get a chance to face Alabama in Atlanta.
Yep.
So you got to respect those guys. And so I think JT was coached and game planned to get the ball out quickly. Yep. And get it to somebody that can make plays, get it to people that you don't expect to have the ball. That's why, there were design passes to go to that freshman tight end, that Brock Bowers.
I think the first 3 passes went to him.
Yeah. So, it was definitely, let's get the ball to a playmaker and let them run with the ball. Let's block downfield and run the ball. I think JT took there was only maybe 2 throws deeper than 15 or 20 yards the whole game.
Yeah. And
they were both incomplete, I think. So
yeah, I think he overthrew one and underthrew the other, but
it's such a tight game that you don't want. You don't want to throw, you don't want to have turnovers. Turnovers in those kind of games is what kills you. Look at what happened to Clemson. They were pressing and he was trying to. That interception wasn't on DJ, that receiver. I don't know if y'all watched Dabo's press conference. That route that the receiver ran was an option route. He could either hook or do a cross. He chose to do a crossing route and let the safety come underneath him. And so the receiver just didn't play that route aggressively enough. And and ended up being a pick. But
well, they did a good job of disguising their coverage. They'd obviously watched a lot of tape on JT Daniels, and I think that was one of the reasons why the play calling was as conservative as it was. Clemson did something very similar. They changed their entire defense, so they didn't give us anything we had seen before. So I don't know if we knew they were going to do that or had a clue that they were going to do that, but we changed how we played offense entirely just for that game.
Yeah.
So going into that game, we never had the intention of being a high-powered offense. We wanted it to be a grindy, punch you in the mouth, drag you down the field. And even when Georgia had momentum, that grind stayed the same. There were times I'm like, we're just going to open it up. Here we go. And nope. We would go back to a handoff for 5 or 6 yards, and then we'd go to a check down and we'd fire another 5 or 6 yards or a 2 or 3 yard rush.
Yeah.
And Georgia would just grind.
It was almost like the game clock. It was almost like the game plan was to, to try to, even on pass plays, to try to keep the clock running. I think the time of possession ended up being almost 50-50, so I'm not real sure
it was 30. It was
wanted it to, but
31-30 to 28. But
I don't think Georgia also. I don't think in any world did we anticipate sacking Uyunglele as much as we did. I don't think Georgia planned on that. So I'm glad that happened.
Yeah,
I'm glad that happened, because had that not happened, if we didn't end up with 1 or 2 sacks in that game, we lose. We lose that game.
The reason I think he may have been dinged up going into that is because you have one of the most dynamic playmakers on the field at any time in Jermaine Burton. And they did not take one shot downfield with him.
Yeah. It was like I said. I'm just afraid. I really think the game plan was to not turn the ball over at all. Like high percentage.
Yeah.
No risk of turning the ball over.
Clemson went to that 2 deep safety look, and I think it threw Monken off, and you guys threw Elliott off. So
yeah. I do want to point out for a moment though that Georgia held Clemson. It was the first time like 143 games they hadn't scored in the first half, and it was like 123 game streak that we broke where they won their season opener. So we broke a couple of different things there. Georgia held Clemson scoreless until 9 minutes and 8 seconds in the fourth quarter.
I really need to see more games with Georgia and Clemson, because when you talk about that game, it's like you want to talk about how good Georgia's defense is, and there are, but how much of that was terrible offensive line play by Clemson? I mean, that was, I want to see more. I want to see more. Yeah, I want to see them both play more. I need to see Clemson play somebody else, and it's like I don't know how much credit. I know it's hard to. It's just hard to determine. To judge everything off of one game, even the other games that we've seen. I just need to see more. Need more data. But man, that defense it was way better. Than
really good.
It looked really good. I hope if it can be half as good for the rest of the year, I think we're in good shape.
You mean let every team score 6 points, right? Only get 3.5 sacks every game, right?
They're not gonna face another. Nobody's gonna face another defensive line like Georgia's. I mean, I think the best offensive line or best defensive line, that Clemson's going to face for the rest of the year is probably going to be Pitt.
Right.
Pitt. Okay.
Now, I will tell you that Georgia's fixing to go play a pretty good UAB team. UAB, they 31 against something called Jacksonville State. They shut them out. Quarterback looked pretty good. He threw for 320 yards, 81% completion percentage. Now, I think a big part of that is because they're playing against Jacksonville State. But
UAB is a decent team, but don't get me wrong about that. But they had some troubles against SEC appointment whatever it is opponents over the years. Like they played against Alabama or so in 1 year, like 2006 or something like that, and lost like a blowout loss. And so what I'm saying, basically, they haven't done really good against the SEC.
Well, let's see. I agree. SEC Dog says, this is why everyone clowns Georgia. Week 1 is over. We beat Dabo, Biyogi, Sweeney, Woo-wee on the week 2. I think there's something to be said for this not just being, Georgia beat Clemson. I think there's something to be said for Kirby Smart actually being able to definitively say, can you read between the lines? You say I can't win a big game. I want a big game. Never mind the fact
it's only the third game that Kirby's won since he's been at Georgia where he was the underdog.
Yeah.
Only the third time. The other one was the Oklahoma game. I want to say, I'm trying to remember what the other one was.
Was it the SEC championship game?
Going into this game, he was 2-6 as an underdog at Georgia.
Yeah.
So that game was huge. I mean, to win. I mean, I know it wasn't a big underdog, but we were an underdog.
You're playing a number 3 ranked school in the country.
Yeah,
someone who has a national title in recent years. Team that played in the college football playoff last year. It's a huge game. I think
Georgia loses that game and wins out. Wins the SEC championship. We're still in the playoff, but that game for Kirby's legacy at Georgia, that was a game that he kind of needed.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Now the question is what kind of team is Clemson? Because I think they have more questions, now than they did going into that game, right? I mean, what kind of is this a Clemson? Is this a Clemson team that's going to beat everybody? They play 50-0 until they get to the playoff.
Well, probably.
And, or is this a team that's going to struggle against NC State? And what does that mean? If we see that, I'm not sure that this Clemson team, even taking away the defense that Georgia put in front of them, I'm not sure that this is a team that should have been ranked 3rd in the country even coming into the season. I mean, I guess what I'm getting at, preseason rankings are just terrible.
I agree that preseason rankings are terrible, and I think I said this before you got on. A lot of people are kind of hammering on Clemson a little bit. I think maybe a little bit too much. Got to give those guys some credit. They held Georgia's offense to 3 points. Now you could argue 6 because we probably would have kicked the field goal there at the end of the game and won it. But to me, winning a game 6-3 is a little bit embarrassing, even if you are ranked number 3 and ranked number 5. But I think you got to give hats off to their defense. I think they sacked us one time, and they still kept us out of the end zone on offense. So to me, that's huge. Hats off to those guys. So
yeah, we knew they were going to have we knew they were going to have a tough defense, and I think we expected to move the ball. And that's why I say I need to see more from Georgia because I have the same concerns about Georgia. I just think Georgia has, we have the defense to fall back on. So
I think that the comparison this week between Georgia and UAB and Clemson versus South Carolina State will be a pretty good litmus test for the quality that we have. I really think, but I also think the next big litmus test is going to be week 4 for Clemson when they play NC State. That NC State can play.
And, you can say Georgia against South Carolina, but I think I don't know if we're going to know much about our team until Auburn.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we're going to score points against all of our opponents that we see up until Auburn, But I'm concerned about our offense, just like any Georgia fan should be, I think.
You mean any Georgia fan with any common sense for the past 4 or 5 years? Yeah, I'm concerned about the offense myself.
And rightfully so.
Yeah. So I was speaking to some of my Florida State fans. They were like, you guys won, but y'all should be concerned about the offense. It's like, I am, dude.
Trust me, I am.
Yeah, I am.
What's going on, Lou? Hey, Nate, if you do me a favor, man, have you drop out. I'm going to add some other people here, my man.
All right. See ya.
Later, buddy. I'm going to add in Wesley Hall. How you doing, Wes?
Well, what's up, man?
You ain't going to put between the trenches up there?
Nah, it's a laid back one.
Don't overdo it. Don't overdo it or nothing.
I'm in my jammies, man. I'm chilling.
Hey, man, you still feeling
where did you get that
silk pajamas on?
He got a smoking jacket next to him, too. He's smoking a cigar. Fetch me my slippers, Jeffrey.
That's what happens, man. You hold up Clemson this much, you can get that Hugh Hefner vibes.
Hey, man, you still high on your Ole Miss Rebels, bro?
Nah. Nah. I'm not high on North Carolina right now either, so we're going to pump the brakes on those two teams for right now.
What's going on, Lou? Lou's in here somewhere.
I think they looked all right.
Yeah. You just letting that. Never mind. I'll just leave it alone. So in the meantime, here I do want to talk about the top 10 rankings. Let's kind of get into that a little bit. So the obviously the rankings come out. You know, Alabama 1, Georgia 2, Ohio State 3, Oklahoma 4, Texas A&M 5, Clemson 6, Cincinnati 7, Notre Dame 8, Iowa State 9, and Iowa 10. I've got some problems with this whole list.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me if you guys have some problems here.
Oh yeah,
I got a big problem with in the coaches poll. Florida's ranked at number 9.
Yeah, that's they've proved absolutely nothing. And it was a 35-14 victory over FAU, but that was a struggle win.
Man, that was looking dangerously close to being Tennessee versus Georgia Southern. That was looking like they was fisting to lose to a school they had no business losing to. I don't know why they got Emery Jones in there, but Emery Jones is every bit the quarterback we thought he was. Every bit. Which is to say none at all. He ran the ball a bazillion yards. Well, how did that help you? It didn't. You need a quarterback that can throw the ball at some point. Dogs fans need to act like we beat somebody. We ain't won nothing yet after beating Dabo. Just on the week 2. I mean, you got to celebrate the victories when you can. But yes, on the week 2, which is only a few days away from being another Saturday here. If I had to put together my magical list here, I'm going to tell you who I would have and this would be my ranking. I would have Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas A&M, Cincinnati Bearcats. And then from there, it gets a little trickier. I'd probably say Clemson. I'd probably do Iowa State, Iowa, and then Notre Dame for the top 10.
So Oklahoma's completely out of your 10.
No. They're supposed to. Excuse me. That would be right after the Bearcats and before Oklahoma. So, yeah.
I might put 10 or 9.
Yeah, here's why there's previous year data that goes into this. They always start out rough. Oklahoma, for some reason, always starts out rough and then manages to get it together. They just do. I'm not saying I like it. I'm just saying they do.
No.
I mean, are we really ready to be this high on Texas A&M?
Haynes King threw 3 picks in that game.
They still won.
I mean, just going back to last year, I mean, they barely beat Vanderbilt. I mean, I know they ended the year only 1 loss, but I mean, I don't know, man. They're gonna finish. They're gonna finish probably second, I guess, in the SEC West. And I don't know. I'm kind of done hearing about them. I mean, you sign Jimbo Fisher to that huge contract, knowing that he's going to play second fiddle for pretty much his entire career at Texas A&M, and then 3 years into a 7-year deal, they're going to sign him to $9 million a year and extend it. I mean, come on, man. That doesn't even make any sense to me.
I'm telling you right now, Texas A&M deserves to be at that number 5 spot because you ready? So hard to say. They have 4 interceptions in that game and still won, man. Don't you know quality quarterbacking when you see it?
I don't know.
Listen, Texas A&M. I'd put them at number 2 if I could, man.
Wow.
You gonna throw 4 interceptions against Kent State?
Man, come on, man. That's a great ball club. They got to be at least 5th. 4 interceptions is incredible.
Yeah.
What was the final score of that game?
41-10, I think.
41-10.
Kent State got 10 points.
All 4 interceptions. Here's what I'm saying. So there's tons of people out there that's high on Texas A&M. And Texas A&M is, by the time they get to the meat of their schedule, they're going to be lucky. They're going to be lucky if they don't lose at least 3 games. They're going to lose. They're going to lose to Alabama. They're probably going to lose to Auburn. They're probably going to lose to Ole Miss. I want to see more out of Missouri before I say they'll lose that game. But I've got concerns about whether or not they can beat Arkansas because Arkansas apparently has learned how to play defense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just not sold on them. I need more than last year. I mean, I guess going on what we've seen so far, you got to rank them somewhere. But
you know I was trolling, right? You know I was trolling.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I mean, I'm talking about the real rankings.
No, I would probably put them somewhere around 20th because their defense is solid, but their offense is just hot garbage. I mean, yeah, they got 41 points. I get that, but man, they're just there's a lot of work there.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, I mean, they come, I know they only lost one game last year. They had a bowl win over North Carolina, but I mean, this is a North Carolina team that everybody was high on coming in this year. Same quarterback, Sam Howell. Everybody was expecting to be great and then gets knocked off right off the rip. And so I don't know. I don't expect Texas A&M to be a player.
I don't either. They're gonna fade out here in a few weeks. By the time they get to the end of the season, they'll probably have lost 3 or 4 games.
You stack the box, stop Isaiah Spiller, shut down the tight end Weidermeyer, and force Haynes King into mistakes, and they're going to get beat 2 or 3 times.
Now, Arkansas is a game that I think Arkansas could beat Texas A&M. I know they're not a great team, but I think Arkansas could beat Texas A&M. Their quarterback, who's not awesome, he threw for about 125 yards, like a 57% completion percentage. But you ready for this? They ran the ball for 245 yards. Yeah. I get that it's Rice, but they averaged 5.5 yards a carry. That's solid against anybody. They have 4 rushing touchdowns. They're not interested in trying to throw the ball a lot. They're basically looking for a game manager, and they're going to run at you and see what you do. That's what Sam Pittman's doing over there. And I think by watching what I saw their offense do, Texas A&M's offense, I think Arkansas will give them a run for their money.
Yeah, I mean, I think the West is going to be real competitive. I mean, it's like we were saying, I mean, even at the end of last year, I mean, you got Lane Kiffin's offense coming into Ole Miss, and, their quarterback looks legit,
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're not going to be a team that anybody is going to overlook. I mean, I think they're going to give people a run for their money. And like I said, I don't know. I mean, I think, I don't know. Texas A&M was one of those teams that you just don't know. Like, I know everybody's super high on them, but
I'm not.
I'm just not yet,
So I think Alabama's fairly placed at 1. I think it'd be hard to unseat them. They always seem to do really well. So 1 seems fair. 2 seems fair for Georgia having beat a number 3 ranked opponent. Ohio State at 3. I'm okay with that. Oklahoma at 4. I disagree with this entirely. They barely squeaked by a terrible Tulane team. They let Tulane score 35 points on them, and Tulane hadn't practiced all week. So I can't give a lot of faith in that. Can't get a lot of faith behind Texas A&M at 5, right? But then that puts me in the situation of Clemson being at 6, and if those 2 teams are out, do you move Clemson to 4? Well, that doesn't seem right either. Right. I think the Cincinnati Bearcats could give anybody a run for their money with the exclusion of maybe Georgia and Alabama. But they gave Georgia all they could handle last year and then some pretty much in the Peach Bowl. Georgia pulled it off at the end with a field goal, but just barely. So I can see putting them at 4.
Yeah.
Notre Dame, maybe. I mean, I have a problem putting them at 5, but who else you going to stick up there?
Yeah,
I would be fine with putting Texas up there at like 8 or 9 at this point.
Yeah,
I'd be happy to hear that.
Texas had a good this week.
That Cincinnati Notre Dame game is going to be.
I think.
Well, we're forgetting one team that should be in that top 10. Iowa.
Yeah, so Iowa's definitely in the top 10. I could put Iowa at like 6 or 7. This is just a grindy football team. Now they play Iowa State this coming up week. I think Iowa State may win that game, but I think Iowa's going to give them all they can handle.
I think this is a battle of 2 great offensive lines and 2 great running backs.
Well, we got to figure out whether or not Charlie Kohler's going to be playing. That's going to make a huge factor in that game.
Yeah, because he's a mismatch for everybody.
Yeah, he's the best tight end in the game right now.
Oh, for sure. Well, that's playing. Because if Darnell Washington was in, I'd say Darnell. But I'll give you say what you want to say. I know I'm right. I mean,
he's got the best physicality. I'll give you that.
I'll tell you like this. Whenever I picked Iowa by 21, everybody looked at me like I was crazy. I said I was going to win that game by 21 or more. And guess what? They won it by like 28. They went out there and worked on some folks. That's a grindy team, man.
Yeah, Tyler Goodson, man. He can be a grind it between the tackles type runner, or he can pop it to the outside and take it 80 yards.
Well, in this game, he had 19 attempts for 99 yards. He was 1 yard shy of 100, which I'd have slapped somebody for not letting me get one more touch. He averaged 5.5 a carry, but he had a 56 long. That's cruising. Then you got their backup, Ivory Kelly Martin, for 8 attempts for 44 yards. He's averaging 5.5 a carry. So, I mean, that's impressive.
They got one of the best offensive lines in the game. That Tyler Linderbaum's on everybody's list for everything at center for them.
I'll be All-American for sure.
Oh yeah. And, as good as he is, him barking out calls on that offensive line, being a quarterback of the offensive line, he's setting them up in good spots. And like you said, they're a grindy team, and that's
also Derek Stevens' comment. Who does the Buckeyes play this week that he thinks is going to hop Georgia?
Oregon.
Okay, buddy.
So 3v12. I don't know.
The team that could barely beat Fresno.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Even
Alabama or Georgia,
you're not going to jump Georgia unless you beat a ranked team, like a quality ranked team. If Georgia keeps winning and Ohio keeps winning, I mean, Oregon's going to be proved to not be a quality ranked team. Yeah, I get they're ranked number 12, but beating a number ranked 12 team whenever you're ranked number 3 is not going to leapfrog a Georgia who just beat a number 3 ranked team.
And that 12 ranked team just struggled to a 31-24 win against Fresno State.
Yeah, and Fresno State is not anything.
Yeah, I think the only way Ohio State jumps to 2 is if Georgia somehow struggles against UAB and Ohio State just goes out there and the game's over at halftime against Oregon, maybe.
Well, even so, I feel like if Georgia goes out there and let's just say they struggle in the first half, but then they put it away solidly, they're still going to look at Georgia and go, they're missing half their players and they're starting quarterback.
Yeah. No, it has to be a struggle the whole game.
Well, I'll be honest with you, man. I don't think Ohio State winning is a foregone conclusion for Saturday.
No, I don't think so either.
I think they didn't look too impressive against Minnesota, and I get it. Minnesota's an okay team, but Oregon's got to be better than Minnesota.
Ohio State has to have the most iffy defense in the top 10. You can't. In years past, you could look when they had the Chase Youngs, the Bosas, stuff like that. You could say, okay, there's Ohio State's game changer on defense. You can't really name one now.
No, you can't. But here's the other thing I would say. Even if Ohio State went out there and shut out Oregon, which I don't see happening, even if they went out there and shut out Oregon, it would still be not as impressive as Georgia shutting out a number 3 Clemson. Or you put 3 points on the board with Clemson, excuse me. So that's just the way I look at that. Especially if Clemson goes out and just blows the doors off whoever they play this weekend, which I bet they will. G Bama Boy says Kirby is aggressive. Saban will spread the field and slant Georgia to death with the defensive blitz. Clemson OC was dumb. Tony Elliott's not a dumb guy. He won 2 national championships. So
he's probably a top 5 coordinator in the nation.
That guy tomorrow could pick what school he wanted to go play at. He absolutely could. There's probably only 3 schools in the country that would turn that guy down. That's probably it. Georgia would probably turn him down. Bama would turn him down, and then what? Maybe Oregon might turn him down just because they do something completely different out there.
I'd say Oklahoma because Riley's got his system in play that he probably doesn't want to change.
And I mean that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So yeah. But other than that, man, I just that top 10 ranking is just it's so hodgepodge right now. Of course, it'll get better after we play this weekend. I'm looking forward to seeing Notre Dame fall apart again because that really looks. I mean, we got to talk about this FSU game. We got to talk about this. There's a lot of FSU fans out there who have been hiding in the dark, hiding in closets, hiding under cars and beds because they're ashamed of their team, and you can't blame them. But I think FSU come out here and put on a show, man.
Man, they come out like their hair was on fire.
And Mackenzie Milton's the truth, man.
Yeah, I'm rooting for that kid.
Yeah, so am I. Great story.
They have to give that kid the starting job.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think he will for sure.
Oh, for sure he did. Mackenzie Milton come out there, and in 5 passes, he went 5 for 7. The starting quarterback went 9 for 19. So he did quite a bit more production. He threw for a 71%. The starting quarterback threw for 47%. 4 sacks, 3 interceptions.
They were just way more explosive with him on the field, like just way more dynamic.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if they started that game with Mackenzie Milton, they win that game.
I agree.
Very possible, for sure.
They start with Mackenzie Milton, they win that game. There was no, and I don't know what happens on game day, but some of these backup quarterbacks, man, they come to life. I mean, look at what happened in Florida. Same thing.
Even Mackenzie Milton was, he was a beast at
UCF.
Yeah, UCF. That until he got hurt. That dude, he had a hell of a season with them. So
yeah. And here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Mackenzie Milton didn't lose the game.
Nope.
He didn't lose that game.
Kicker did.
The kicker did. And say what you want to say, it was a bad field goal, but Notre Dame having to survive, was it double overtime? It was just regular overtime.
Regular.
I think it was just one, yeah.
Yeah, just regular. That by a field goal? Come on, man. Now keep in mind that they came back. FSU came back and tied it up in the fourth quarter. Like they were down at one point 20-38 and with 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. And then they rallied back and put 18 points on the board just in time to go to overtime. It was absolutely incredible. The time of possession was dead even. 30 minutes, 35 seconds to 29-25. Total yards, 431 to 442. First down, 17 and 19. These guys were basically carbon copies.
Yeah.
And that's why I say if you start that game with Mackenzie Milton, they win it.
Going back to the Florida talk, you think we're done seeing Emery?
No, because Dan Moore.
He's already didn't start a quarterback.
He's already what?
Yeah. He's already said he's going with Emery.
Okay.
Yeah, he's already said he's doing that. So, Dan Mullen is the clown we thought he was.
Well, hey man, he's the great quarterback whisperer. Let's let him do his thing, I guess.
Well, somebody needs to whisper.
I gotta jump off, man.
All right, brother.
How about y'all, man? Take it easy.
Later, bro. Thanks again.
Later, guys.
Man, he's the same genius that thought Franks was better than Trash, so let him do it.
Anthony Richardson comes in, throws 3 for 8, and his average is 37.5%. But he averaged more yards per carry and had a 36-yard bomb.
Yep.
Emery Jones comes in, throws for 63%, right? And Anthony Richardson, on 7 attempts, rushes for 160 yards. What are you doing?
The good news is I think the second in the East is wide open right now.
I agree with that. I don't know who it's going to go to.
Hell, honestly, you might think I'm crazy. The only
Missouri.
team that stood out at second in the East to me right now, if we're just going off of week 1, I'd give it to Milton and Tennessee. They look the most, at least for the first quarter, the most dominant. Like I wasn't impressed with Kentucky that much. Really wasn't impressed with Missouri.
I don't know. I think it's kind of hard to tell right out of the gate, but
the reason I wasn't impressed with Milton is they started off good, but he finished with under 50% passing.
Yeah.
That Zach I think his name is Zach Evans kid at running back really carried them in the rest of that game after the first quarter.
Talking about Tyon Evans?
Tyon Evans, okay.
Yeah. It might just be the fact, and I see Shane saying Kentucky looked good. They didn't look bad. It's just it might just be the fact that you're seeing such a crap game out of Tennessee every year that it was like, oh man, they didn't look half bad this time. Maybe that's the whole mirage I'm getting right now.
I think the quarterback situation is so bad at Tennessee right now that they're going to lose to. They'll probably lose, in my opinion, right now to Missouri. I get that I get that they had a good opener. They put 38-6 on Bowling Green. It looked dominant. The rushing game is really what did it for them. But I'm going to go ahead and point out to you that Kentucky is going to be able to stop that.
Yeah.
I mean, Kentucky went 45-10 against ULM. Yeah, I get it's ULM, but I mean, it's one of those things where I really feel like the moment that you can stop the running game against Tennessee, it is over for them.
Yeah,
it is over. Kentucky had 554 yards of total offense against ULM. That is a boatload. They had 419 yards passing, had 135 rushing.
And that's completely different from a normal Kentucky team that would probably have the opposite numbers.
Correct. I mean, back when they were running Benny Snell, you'd see 300 yards rushing or 250 yards rushing. You would never see 135 yards rushing unless playing Georgia and we shut them down. But if you look at Tennessee's numbers when they played Bowling Green, the stats really weren't that impressive. They had, as far as yards go, they had 187 yards in passing, and they had 32 yards in rushing. Kentucky is going to eat their lunch.
Yeah.
They're going to destroy Tennessee if Tennessee doesn't get that quarterback situation figured out. Yeah, Florida had a lot of rushing yards too. They really did. The rushing game looked much better at Florida, but you run that against Georgia and you're just going to run into a buzzsaw. Ask Clemson.
Damian Pierce ain't running that much. I can tell you that right now on Georgia.
Anytime whenever you have a star running back and you run him at Georgia, we set him down. Benny Snell, Kerryon Johnson, Shipley, you name them. We'll set them down. Quarterbacks aren't going to run against Georgia, and running backs aren't going to run against Georgia. We're too used to getting our knees knocked out from under us from playing triple option at Georgia Tech for the past decade. You try to run against Georgia, it's going to be a problem for you. I actually am caught between picking Kentucky at this point in the game, between picking Kentucky as runner-up in the East or picking
Missouri.
We'll find out Saturday.
I got Missouri.
I might take Kentucky. I don't know, man. I'm out. That's one of those I still haven't picked yet, and the game's this Saturday, so it's going to be fun to watch.
Well, looking at the Missouri Tigers, Basilak, this guy can be dynamic. 257 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did get sacked twice, but his completion percentage is, 65%. They have a pretty balanced offense, which is really difficult to deal with. They had over 460 yards of offense, which is great, but it was balanced, right? So they had 211 yards in the rushing game, which is solid. Tyler Beatty rushed the ball 25 times, 203 yards, 8.5 average. After 25 attempts, 8.1 average. It's impressive. Then
Bobby
you've got
– oh, sorry.
What's that?
Someone said he's seen me on Bobby Dirk. I know Bobby Durkins, but I've never been on a show.
Seen who on Bobby Durkins? You?
Me.
Oh, well, there you go.
Cool. All right, whatever.
Did Bobby use a clip or something?
Oh, I hope. That's one of those people. If you got nothing nice to say, I'll just let you continue, Brett.
Sorry, I was off on a tangent.
My bad, man.
You just mad because your mama put sugar in the cornbread?
That's what it was.
That's what it was. So, in my opinion, you look at their receiving core, they spread it out pretty good. They've got some talented receivers. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys in that game who average more than 10 yards a catch. So, 21 passes, 32 completions. They had a 63-yard long. I think that this team is much improved, especially over last year. Now, how many sacks do you think? Just guess. How many sacks do you think Missouri got in this game against Rice?
They played Rice.
Not Rice.
I was about to say I thought Arkansas played Rice.
CMU. Sorry.
I'm gonna guess 2.
1.
9.
9.
Okay, went the wrong way. All right.
9. So, to me, when I see this kind of performance, I look at Tennessee and I go, "Yeah, that ain't happening." I'm a fan of Missouri for second place. Yeah, And you notice how nobody has to talk about the South Carolina and shame Beamer. Yeah. Landon Gosnell, thank you for Super Chat, Trey. He said, should Anthony Richardson be starting, or do you give Emery Jones another shot and hope it was nerves? For me personally, I want him to play Emery Jones.
Right.
I think Emery Jones has a lot of talent. I think he just needs more time at the helm. You do that, this guy could be a Heisman Trophy candidate. I would vote for him today. As a matter of fact, can we get him a few more years of additional scholarship? We can even pay for it out of the Georgia Slush Fund. No, I think that Anthony Richardson is probably at some point should be taking the job away from Emery Jones. I think Emery Jones wants to be a dual threat quarterback, but doesn't know how. I think Anthony Richardson has the skill set already.
I think that Emery Jones doesn't make it all year as a starter at all.
So if let's just say that we know Florida's going to lose to Georgia, so just throw that out there. What happens if Florida loses to Missouri?
I think they do.
I think they might. If they lose to now ride the wave with me. What if they lose to Missouri and then hold on a second here. One second. Simadana. Florida plays Missouri next to last, and they play FSU. About middle of the season, they play LSU. What happens if you're ready for this? They play because they got to play Alabama week 3, so you're going to lose that game, right? And then they come down a little further. They play LSU, and they lose that game.
I think Mullen pulls an Urban Meyer.
Then you got 2 weeks, and then they play number 2 or number 1 Georgia, depending on what happens. Then they play Georgia. They lose that game. That's 3 games right there. Okay. Do you think the win-let side of the sale here with 3 losses into the season, because they're going to have at least 2, right?
Yeah.
And then they get down to the 3rd week of November, and they play Missouri, and they lose that game. Then they roll into FSU. They will likely win that game. But FSU gave Notre Dame a run for their money. What if FSU wins that game? That's a 5-loss Florida team.
I mean, there's a good chance by that time Milton's been starting since week 2.
I don't know. Do you think it's possible if he runs the table like that, he gets fired?
Yes. Especially because another team you didn't name, let's be honest, if we're going off of week 1 with everything we've seen, let's not think that it's a foregone conclusion they're going to beat Kentucky.
True. I'm much more comfortable saying they'll lose to Missouri than they will lose to Kentucky, though. But it's possible. I want to see that game. I think Alabama's going to beat the daylights out of them. And depending on how beat up they are, Tennessee might walk them for a little while. What if Tennessee's better than we think? Kentucky's better than we think. LSU manages to get it together. Missouri's better than we think. And FSU's better than we think. Is it possible to see them go 6-6?
It's possible, but is it sad for me to say that the one game I don't see happening is LSU?
Yeah, it is.
I'm just being real.
You're putting way too much faith in Emery Jones, man.
No. I'm not saying that that Florida can definitely beat LSU, but after week 1, man, I don't know who LSU can beat. It's one of those kind of scenarios.
But I got to be honest though. Is it a problem? Is it week 1? Is that a problem? Let me tell you right now. Looking on ESPN.com, they do that the matchup predictor, right?
Right.
As of right now, what do you think the percentages are? Because when Georgia played against Clemson, it was like 75-25.
Yeah, it was crazy. I think they had a 27% when I looked. It was crazy.
Okay. Clearly, that was wrong, but
yeah.
What do you think? What do you think the percentages are? You guys throw it down in the chat real quick. What do you guys think the percentages are for the for the Florida LSU game?
I'm going to guess they gave it to LSU 60-40.
I'll go Florida 65-35.
Ooh. Florida 58, LSU 42.
Right.
Okay.
So it's closer than what you think. So it's going to be interesting because it's supposed to be at LSU, but we don't know if that's going to happen or not. So we'll see. I think that Tiger Grantham defense is coming into play.
If you're on there right now, what's the percentages for the game this week, the Kentucky Missouri?
Ooh, that's a good one. Let me check that one.
Because to me, that's the second best game I want to watch this week.
Kentucky Missouri game. Here we go. All right, if you had to guess, what would you think?
I'd say Missouri by 55%. Like, this game seems close to me.
D4, what you got?
Oh, what'd you say? I'm sorry.
Kentucky, Missouri.
Percentage matchup predictor between Missouri and Kentucky. What do you think ESPN has that at?
52-48, Missouri.
No, it is 69% to 30%, or it's 31%. Kentucky over Missouri.
Whoa.
Really?
Did not see that coming. Well, in all fairness, I mean.
Because here's why. Here's what they're looking at. They're looking at average points per game, which is 45 for Kentucky, 35 for Missouri. Points allowed per game, 10 for Kentucky, 24 for Missouri. Total yards per game, 554 to 648. Yards allowed. Missouri allowed 475 yards, where Kentucky only allowed 87.
Now, this is ESPN's percentages?
That is correct.
So you got to take it with a grain of salt.
What's Vegas line say?
I don't know about the Vegas line, but this is the same ESPN that told us C.J. Stroud was number one for the Heisman list this year. So I'm going to hold off on anything the ESPN's got to say.
So what you're saying is we got a shot at work.
Right.
The big boys, right? Let me see if I can find Kentucky versus Missouri Vegas odds. Let's see what we got. First look. Missouri versus Kentucky odds lines. Wildcats favored in season opener. So they're taking Kentucky as well.
Wow.
Let's see. Money line, Missouri 170, Kentucky minus 210. Wow. Missouri is against the spread, they're a 4.5 point favorite. So Kentucky's got to win Kentucky's a 4.5 point favorite. The over-under is 52. I would take the under.
Yeah, same. I'm going to tell you right now, I still think everything we've just talked about, I think this is going to determine who's second in the East.
Yeah, I agree.
Derek says C.J. Stroud's about to show y'all Saturday why he's going to win the Heisman. Just stop it.
Who's C.J. Stroud?
I think he was that kid who thinks he could play quarterback in Ohio State.
Who?
Exactly.
Never heard of her.
JT Barrett. I mean, CJ Stroud.
Cold-blooded. That's just messed up. So here, let me help you out there, Ohio State fans. Ohio State fans, who was your season opener against?
Row the boat.
Minnesota. Minnesota scored 31 points on y'all. That was 10 times more points. 10 times more points than the number 3 team in the country allowed offensively, because Clemson only allowed 3 points on offense from Georgia. That's all they allowed. Your team basically took an unranked team and let them do whatever they wanted to do. 31 points. And, yeah. And, by the way, if y'all hadn't have scored 14 points in the fourth quarter, y'all would have been tied at the end of that. So y'all had to keep your foot on the pedal the whole time.
Miguel 2 times says JT had 135 yards. It's week 1. Let's settle down. You're right. He only had 135 yards. That's why Bryce Young right now is sitting at my number 1, not CJ Stroud.
Yeah. I don't have CJ. I don't have JT Daniels as my number one guy either. I don't have DJ as my number one guy. I don't. Now I will tell you, if he hadn't got injured, who the number one running back in the country was, in my opinion, and that was Muhammad Ibrahim.
Yeah, Ibrahim.
That guy was killing it. I think he tore his calf muscle. But,
he blew his, tore his ACL, I thought. Or
his ACL?
Or Achilles, sorry.
Yeah, that pop was nasty.
Yeah, that was disgusting.
All the number one running backs, probably Tank.
Tank Bigsby?
Yeah.
Nah, I'd still go Brees Hall.
Oh, yeah, you got Brees Hall. Or Bijan.
Bijan's a beast.
Bijan. But here's what I'm saying. Whilst, Ohio State did put on a game performance that was worth watching. He threw for 294 yards and a 60% completion percentage against an unranked team, and threw an interception. Yeah, he threw for 4 touchdowns, but he threw an interception. And that is one of the factors that they look at. How many interceptions do you average per game? And the season opener, he threw one against an unranked team. Highly likely he's going to throw another. Derek Stevens said, George is trash. Yeah, getting mad. We love you anyway, man.
We're not saying Ohio State's a terrible team. We still all had them at third. I'm just saying C.J. Stroud didn't show enough to be number one on a Heisman watch right now. And it's crazy to put a kid who's never touched the field number one at Heisman watch.
I agree. So, and this is what I said about DJ Uiagalelei was a very talented high school quarterback. He was number one in his class. And he played last year. And then he played a ranked team, and he got sacked 7 times.
Yep.
That's the difference, man, between that first year of being in college and getting acclimated. He did a really good job for where he was at. Now, next year, we could certainly have a conversation about the quality that he could do next year. But experience matters, especially in college and pro football.
Yeah.
Yes, when you guys played Clemson, you put up way more than 3 points. No doubt about it.
How much did you let him put up?
Well, there's that to be said too. But what I get what you're saying. But that wasn't C.J. Stroud. That was Justin Fields. DJ would have had a way. What's that?
He said, will we win the Heisman? I don't know. Will Ohio State win the Natty? Absolutely.
Wait, what? That DJ would have had a way better ball game if he didn't play any last year.
I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt, man. I'd have played better this year if I hadn't played last year.
Hey, man, DJ had the touchdown of the game. Can't take that away from him.
Yeah. I think C.J. Stroud is a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a lot of teams would love to have that guy. He's got a very high ceiling.
Yeah, and I wasn't making fun of him or Ohio State. I just thought it was crazy to put a kid who hasn't touched the field number one on a Heisman list.
I agree. Well, I mean, look at it this way. Whenever Joe Burrow started playing for LSU, nobody was talking about this guy at the Heisman position. It was about week 3 or week 4, everybody was going, what in the heck is going on at LSU? Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Is this a fluke?
His first year starting, he struggled against 6 of the opponents to even complete 50%.
Right.
Then enters Joe Brady.
Yep.
And completely turned that around.
The system can make anybody.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got the right coach in place, it makes all the difference in the world. That's one of the big problems that Georgia had for years and years is Mark Richt kept hiring friends to do jobs. You don't need that. Need quality. Need coaches that know what's up.
See, and one reason I picked UCLA to be LSU on our pick'em was Ed Orgeron cannot win with his own talent. He's the best interim coach you have ever seen in your life.
Yeah,
I would argue to say that Dan Mullen is a close second.
Yeah.
I keep going back to Derek. Derek says Georgia's quarterback don't have a chance of winning a Heisman, but CJ's does. So I'll take CJ over Daniels all day. Yeah, but the thing you're missing is Georgia fans don't give a rat about a Heisman right now. That's not the trophy we're going after.
I would trade you 10 Heismans for one natty. For 100%. So, and
He's
a lot of
I
schools
wanted to
would
hear.
too.
Then hit the super chat.
So for me, there's just little fact that floats around out there. The vast majority of the national championship teams that you see don't have a Heisman winner on them. Right. The vast majority. So winning a Heisman's great, but it's like the Bupkis Award that Roquan won. It's a great award, but it's not a natty. And just because you have that, doesn't qualify you really even to say that you're going to win a natty. Is he a great quarterback? He may be. But right now, trust me, as a Georgia fan, we've got some talent all over the field. We have talent that would start anywhere in the country tomorrow, unless it's maybe Alabama or Clemson. They would start on any team. Guaranteed. Especially our running backs.
Texas rocks. I did see that video. It was hilarious.
Expanding on what you just said, Heisman winners not really winning natties. I think that is because a Heisman winner has to be in a one-dimensional offense, and that gets you beat in big games.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to Alabama last year. They had Najee Harris, Devonta Smith, and Mac Jones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all three of those guys, you could argue, should have won or could have won a natty if any of the other two weren't there. And it took a team basically with 3 Heisman Trophy caliber candidates to win the national championship last year. That's what I won't say that's what it took. That's what it ended up with. Most teams are lucky to get one player on there, but you got to understand when you have a guy like Devonta Smith, it's going to take away from a Najee Harris. Mm-hmm. When you have a guy like Najee Harris, it's going to take away from Mac Jones. It's just gonna. So when you only get so many possessions, and whomever you take a ball away from, you giving it to somebody else. Well, that person lost an opportunity. So when you've got a high-powered offense that's got one guy, which is usually in these days a quarterback, you've got to look at who is that leaving out, and it's always leaving out somebody. If you've got a very balanced offense, you're going to have 3, 4, 5 guys that can catch. You're going to have 2, 3 running backs that can run, and you got a quarterback that can throw and / scramble. So if you were to take any of those guys and put them on a team by themselves, they're going to be super highlighted. When you put them on a team that's as talented, you just say, Alabama's great. Everybody's great. And that's just what you end up with.
Right.
It also helps you that your offensive line won the prestigious award for the best offensive line in the country.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Landon Collins probably could have won a Heisman himself.
Yeah.
So I went to the Dollar Tree, and I go to Dollar Tree because you can get some cheap stuff there if you're just going to tear it up. Why go buy something for $8 or $10? So while I was in there, I bought a salt shaker. No, I'm not sniffing salt. This thing is they call them Unbeatables. It's the laundry detergent scent thing, and I tell you, it smells delicious.
That don't look right, Brett.
Just trying to fit in at Florida. It'd be all right.
Gotcha.
So, as you can see, this thing right here, you can just shake it, and it makes the whole room smell good.
Brett, you're my boy, but you're a weird dude.
Huh?
I said you're my boy, but you're a weird.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What?
Oh, you son of a gun.
I may be weird, but I'm smarter than the average bear. They say the smartest people are really weird.
Makes sense.
I mean, they mainly say that about serial killers, but
I can't.
It looks like.
Why are you so quiet? It puts the lotion on its skin, or it gets the hose. When I was in high school, I used to put lotion on my skin to get the hose. See, Trenches, I told you that joke wouldn't work. It was a terrible joke, man.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Georgia should try some of that stuff. Maybe to win a natty. I don't care if they're sniffing on the sideline as long as we get that natty.
I'm okay with pretty much winning a natty.
Yeah.
Any way necessary, right?
Yep.
Hey, can we hire Tanya Harding? I'm just asking. Man,
oh God.
So this Saturday, let's go ahead and run through the matchup this Saturday real quick, guys. We kind of run through the top 10. Let's run through this matchup. Friday, we've got Kansas versus Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina is actually looking pretty good. They're ranked 17th now. Duke's playing North Dakota. Boise State's playing. What happened to Boise State? They used to be a decent team. Not anymore. You got Ohio State playing at noon against Oregon. That'll be a game worth watching. Auburn gets this only opportunity to beat Alabama this year when they play Alabama State at noon. Tennessee playing Pitt. That'll be an interesting game. Let's see. Michigan State.
That'll be a very good barometer for Tennessee.
It will. That'll be a good check. That'll be a good gut check for them. And it's crazy because for both of these schools to be Power 5 schools and actually trying to recover their programs, there's not been a lot of talk about this particular game, and I think there should be.
Right.
These are two. They're, I won't say evenly matched, but maybe evenly matched. They could be. I think it'd be interesting to see what they can do. Florida versus South Florida at 1 o'clock. We'll get another look at that quarterback situation there.
They better run through that because I watched that South Florida game and they looked like hot garbage the whole game.
Well, whatever. Yeah. Virginia Tech at Middle Tennessee at 2 o'clock. Nah. Notre Dame versus Toledo at 2:30. Nah. Of course, going to watch the Georgia versus UAB game. I'm kind of interested to see what Texas A&M is going to do against Colorado at 3:30. I'll be watching that.
Colorado is a very, very sneaky, underrated team.
I agree.
Jarek Broussard is probably a top 10 running back in the nation.
I agree.
And their defense ain't half bad.
That's why I want to see that game. I also want to see how bad Cincinnati is going to destroy Murray State at 3:30. Penn State versus Ball State, nobody cares. Boston College versus UMass, nobody cares. Alabama versus Mercer, nobody cares. The game of the day most likely is going to be this Iowa State versus Iowa game. On paper, Iowa State looks to be the better of the two teams, but I'm going to take Iowa. I just feel like Iowa is going to be the team, and I'm going to say Iowa by 10.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my pick earlier, man. If Kohler's playing, give me Iowa State. That's going to be my factor.
One of these days, you're going to learn.
Hey, man, I got to take a chance sometimes.
I'm going to go with Iowa State, too.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's good for y'all to be wrong every now and then. It helps you humility.
Support on the wrong side.
Clemson and South Carolina State, meh. Number 4 Oklahoma versus Western Carolina, meh. The 7 o'clock game that I'm going to be watching is going to be Texas versus Arkansas.
Yes, sir.
We'll talk some more about that game Saturday morning. Number 18 Wisconsin versus Eastern Michigan, nah. Miami versus App State, I'll take App State. Now I think the next game here, I'm just joking. I'm probably going to take Miami, but they ain't going to win by much. North Carolina State versus Mississippi State. Give me North Carolina State. The G stealing Grambling versus Southern Miss. I'm taking Southern Miss just because they took our G and peed on it. Now it's a yellow G. So I'm taking Southern Miss just because I don't like you. Ole Miss versus Austin Peay. Ole Miss will score 100. North Carolina versus Georgia State. North Carolina will score 50. Missouri versus Kentucky at 7:30 is going to be the other big game here. Definitely going to be watching that game. It's a great litmus test. I feel like I want to take Missouri, but now I feel like I want to take Kentucky. I don't know. I'll have to weigh that out later. Florida State versus Jackson State. Florida State by 21. Michigan versus Washington. Michigan by a touchdown. Then nobody cares about the rest.
Wait a minute. Who's Georgia Tech playing?
Like I said, nobody cares.
No one cares.
I care about Kennesaw State. Stop.
Oh, sorry.
You can get on here and watch Bethune-Cookman and Gardner-Webb if you want to watch it. Now, hold on. Now, how about this? One of the games is Charlotte at Gardner-Webb. I'm just saying.
Charlotte beat Duke. I'll take it.
No. I'm just saying. Think about the name Charlotte at Gardner-Webb.
I got it. Charlotte's Webb. I got you. Coke Zero coming in clutch, Brett.
Zero cool. Got zero chill, man. He threw down 25 on me. Appreciate that, sir. He says, thanks for the channel. It's nice to listen to UGA football with fellow Southerners speaking. I live in Colorado now for 7 years. Not many Dogs fans here. Sir, I can completely sympathize. I lived in Nebraska for 10 years, and there was one other Georgia fan, and me and him used to watch the games together. So I know what it's like to be out there by yourself. Don't be a stranger. You're always welcome on the show, sir. We do tons of commentary here. We have some pretty good people on here. Not these guys tonight, but normally we have some really good guys on here.
Man,
What'd you say?
No, I didn't say nothing.
I'm a Texas fan from Tennessee, man. I know the pain.
Trenches, you were saying something.
I love this channel.
Love it.
He learns quick, don't he?
Yeah.
So we do have some fun on here. Also, Zero Cool. We have I like to cook on Saturdays. I don't know how long you've been around, but definitely appreciate the super chat. It does help the channel. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. There's also a merchandise store if you want to go check out some stuff over there. We're gonna be doing a hat soon. I haven't done any hats. I want to get a hat.
A fat head hat.
D4, you like hats, don't you?
Yeah, that's what I ask you if you're gonna get hats for big heads.
Well, what did you say? Do you like hats?
Oh
So-
yeah.
So here's my hat. This is a large XL. It's a large to large XL, and when I got it, it was too tight. So over the years, it's stretched out a little bit. Now it fits. Now it fits. So like they have these stores around the country called Lids, and I would go to Lids and look for hats that would fit me. Being in Nebraska, they might have 2 Georgia hats, and every time one of them they'd be too small.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, how are y'all only going to get 2 hats here, and then you get them in size extra preschool? I can't wear this thing. This thing won't fit around my fist.
Mine's an XL and double XL.
Yeah, have you not seen Southern folks? We round. They don't measure us in height; they measure us in diameter. Give me a real hat.
We hog heads around here.
Right. So when I got this hat when I lived in Georgia, when I was living in Nebraska, this was like the only hat I could find anywhere that I liked. So it's got the Georgia Bulldog with the hat on backwards. It's got the braised thing, and so on the side I got Georgia Boy on it. Because everywhere I would go, it's like, who's your team? It's like, well, I'm a Georgia fan. Why are you a Georgia fan? Because I'm a Georgia boy. That's where I'm from. So yeah. Oh, let's see. Zero Cool says 100% feel you. Thanks. Nice. Cool. Let's see. Brett, you might be better looking for trash can lids. You right. Let's see. I got my old beat up pirate hat. And then I got another Georgia hat over there. I got my Santa Claus hat. I like hats. I don't know how many Georgia hats. I got visors, Georgia visors.
I just love you still got a tie behind it because I remember you made a whole video how to tie a tie.
Oh yeah, man. Here, let's get down. Ooh.
It was about a 40-minute live stream of him showing us how to tie a tie.
Hey man, I can tie a tie in a heartbeat. Ready?
Hey man, I learned. I was appreciative.
Here, so I can do this in my sleep. When I was in the military, man, I'd have guys come over to me. It's like, hey man, you tie a tie for me? I was like, what kind of tie you want? I was like, I want that nice, pretty square one you make. I'm like, you're crazy, dude. I was like, you're crazy. So you want to get it like that? Whatever. Yep. Bite it. Smack it. Flip it. Shove it down.
Shove it through.
Say what I said.
Oh yeah.
Now there's another one that I used to tie. It's a lot more difficult to tie, but it's called a Trinity Knot. And if you got a chance to look that one up, it looks cool. And there's another one that's called the Merovingian. And the Merovingian, the small part of the tie actually is on front of this tie. Like, if I can do it. It looks like this. It's hard to tell here because the pattern is so similar. But it like sits on the front of the tie like that. It looks really cool. And then there's another one called an Eldridge knot. I used to have a lot of fun tying ties when I was in the military. You show out. So you wear a tie to the club back in the day. I wasn't stationed at a base in Nebraska. I moved up there after my mom passed away, and lived up there for 10 years. This is where I met my wife. And the last winter I was there, it was -19. The wind chill was -40. And I told my wife, I was like, we can't do this anymore. This is just dumb. I was like, I basically stayed up all night to make sure that the fireplace wasn't going to go out so that we didn't freeze to death in the middle of the night. I was like, this is ridiculous. There you go.
Clean.
So, yeah. You know if you tie a tie right because you can pull it out and then just do that, and it goes right back like it's supposed to. If you can't do that, you didn't tie it right.
Mine I just unclipped the clip in the back and it just knocked out and done. It's weird.
Yep, sugar in the cornbread again. So give Brock Vandegrift split time with Beck if JT can't go. I'm fine with letting Carson Beck. If you went to G-Day and you'd watch Carson Beck in person,
It was
you
crazy.
wouldn't say that. You wouldn't say that. Because when we left that game, me and Trenches looked at each other and went, if something happens to JT, I'm completely fine with Carson Beck. It's the first time in my life I ever said that. I was like, I'm completely fine with
you, if one player goes down, I kind of let's hope it's quarterback.
Zach from Road Gaming says, at Big Dog Brett, Auburn or Penn State, who wins? Also score prediction. I will take Auburn over Penn State, and I'll say 28-21. So how is the number 2 team in the nation a sleeper? Because we're missing half our offense and our quarterback's hurt. And it's week 1. So who knows? Brock is more talented of the dual threat. Again, that may be true. He may have a higher ceiling, but Carson Beck has been at Georgia longer. He's waited his turn. He knows the offense. He's played with those guys a lot more, so he has a lot more cohesion with them. So that's why I would pick him. But don't get me – and here's the other thing you got to take into consideration. Brock Vandegrift played for Prince what's the name of that school?
Church League.
Miguel already hit on it too.
Yeah. So, yeah, that particular school, it's not Prince Andrews or something. I can't remember. But that particular school does not play against, like, normal high school teams. He's good. But you got to take into consideration that he wasn't playing in the toughest league in the country. Prince Ave. Yeah, Prince Ave. There you go.
And
What's up, Steph?
He may be a underwear All-American. So.
That's Steph Carr snuck in here. She's Keith Carr's boss or wife.
Oh, nice.
So, she's a pretty awesome person. She takes care of him. So we're really happy to have her.
Bishop Sycamore.
What's that? Oh yeah, I'm picking Bishop Sycamore versus Florida this weekend as well.
Nice.
That right there ought to be on. What's it called? Last Chance You. No, Last Chance You. That's the definition of Last Chance You.
Give me Bishop Sycamore and give me the national championship Florida team 30 for 30.
ECUW. That's crazy. Zifang Yangren. I hope I said your name right, sir. I was in Nebraska a few months ago. Great people, beautiful landscape, but I am glad I went in the summer. Great people in the rural areas. Beautiful landscape is as you get closer to South Dakota, there's some stuff that's pretty cool. The Badlands are pretty cool. But the rest of it's just straight cornfield, and once you get into the inner city, there's let's just say it's inner city.
Just said watching DJ hit the ground gave him happy feelings.
It should. What's up, Tickety Top? Bo Diddley. Check that name out, dude. All right, so we got to put this name up. This is a great name. If you're sitting around trying to come up with a name and you don't come up with something this good, redo your account. This is a great name, Bo Diddley.
Dude, that one I've seen Shaquille Oatmeal. Brett,
I like this one. I like this one because somebody says, "Is your name Bo Diddley?" He can say, "No, 'tis Beauregard Diddley." So what happened to USC? They used to be a powerhouse. You can say the same thing about Tennessee. You can say the same thing about Florida. You can say the same thing about LSU. You can say the same thing about Arkansas. Unfortunately, you can say the same thing about Texas. And it's just that's round robin. It happens. So the difference is what teams can get back up. Texas is that team that it's like 8 or 9 rounds in the fight. They've been knocked down every round, but they refuse to quit. They keep getting up and keep landing some shots here and there. You're like, how is this guy still on his feet? They just never quit. And so I got a lot of respect for Texas for that. And the last time Georgia played them, they beat us. And they almost killed our dog. So Texas is going to be back in it hopefully soon. USC, as long as you're playing on the West Coast, you're going to be a step behind the SEC. Texas and Oklahoma figured it out, so they're joining the SEC. Yeah, I mean, that's just what can you do? What can you do? All right, guys, we've been on here for about 2 hours. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so there's that. You guys got anything else you want to throw in here?
I don't know, man. It's
Saturday.
been a pleasure to see you Saturday, and appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir. Got to have you anytime. Trenches, you got anything?
Can't wait for Saturday, man.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and jump off here. We really appreciate you guys. Let's do a shout out here real quick. Stephen Carr. I think that's Stephanie, unless it's a different one. It should be Stephanie. Did I misread the name? Who knows? I suck at life. Zach Rowe Gaming, Texas Rocks. All the people that gave us super chat today. Zero Cool. Thank you very much for that big super chat, sir. Appreciate it. Bo Diddley, TikTok Chess All, Z Fang, Miguel, Texas Rocks, Barry Anderson. That's a great name too. Stephanie Carr, a lot of Texas Rocks. All you guys down here, appreciate you. We'll see you guys soon. We'll have some more videos coming out. What's up, Chiquita? Appreciate it. You guys have a great day. God bless. Go Dogs.